Hello, all, and welcome to Low-Code Campfire. This is episode number 208 for Friday, August 22nd, 2025. And this one I've titled A Little Bit of Everything because, well, I think that's the way it's going to turn out. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plant and App, and this is an event that we do every Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time, where we get together and talk about the challenges of low coding and techniques and things that might help you along on your way. It's open to everyone. All skill levels are welcome. You can see all of these previous episodes, or 207 episodes already out on youtube.com/plantandapp. And you can search through there and usually find something that's of use to you as you're trying to do your low-code development. We do this agenda week by week. We stop and say hello because we're a friendly group. And then we'll do anything that's been any first call, anything you want to talk about first, and then submitted topics. We have some things going on the community site, and even have a small ghost story today. So we'll get into all that. Then after an hour or so, we go into Afterglow. That's where we turn off the recording, raise a virtual adult beverage, and hope for the weekend to begin and just chat a little bit more. So do jump in, engage, show and tell. Use the chat window however you want to engage, but we do hope that you'll participate. You can submit questions and topics in advance, either using this QR code or simply sending an email to support@plantandapp.com. Hello, one and all.
Greetings.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Did anyone show up with something that we want to tackle first?
I've got something simple. Maybe it's simple. I hope it's simple. Anyway, we got attacked yesterday. Somebody found our forms and decided to just fill them out, and lots of them. Simple thing, what people are doing. What I did was just bonehead kind of thing. I forgot to put a reCAPTCHA on there. I didn't ever thought to put it on there in the beginning. So I went in and put reCAPTCHA version 3 on each of the forms in question, and then everything, it got quiet. But I don't know if it got quiet because we tired the guy out after the, several thousand emails, or if it actually stopped him. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was wondering what people were doing for their technique for securing forms. Is that the simplest and the only thing, or are there some other things? I was considering something like maybe some of these forms should have two-factor authentication, so they should, we could verify their email address that way and let them continue filling out the form after they've verified, kind of a thing. So that's kind of where I'm at. What should I do next?
Hey Don, Jerry here. Can we assume that these forms are open to the public? They're not behind your login wall or
They're
anything
all
like
open
that?
to the public, yes.
Okay. All right. I just want to be on touch of that as we follow through with this. I use reCAPTCHA often for that very reason. But I'm all ears on this.
So if you had several thousand emails, then sure sounds like you got discovered by a bot, not a person. And
Right.
bots don't get tired, so I imagine the reCAPTCHA made sense. Um, let's do. I'm just gonna show off a little bit what we're talking about for anybody following along. So if we had a simple form that asks for your name and a comment, for example, it could be anything, or we use a large text for a comment. And if we do that and don't secure it, then what we get is something like this. Let's clean this up a little bit. So we have a name and a comment and a submit button. And anybody can type anything, and any bot can figure out how to fill this in, and there's no limitations. And so it submits, it does whatever it is going to do with that information. And I don't know, those of you who are subscribe to our community portal have seen that we've been subject to some of these as well, that you've got some emails that people, instead of looking for help, they're, trying to hawk some payment solution or other. So then the reCAPTCHA thing, the kind of the simplest built-in is a reCAPTCHA field type, and we have two of them. Um, so reCAPTCHA itself renders like this. And should prevent me from filling in the form. Oh,
I think you need to have your keys in there.
well, that's a really great question. I thought reCAPTCHA was, this is there was, yeah, so we do have to have Google
Yeah,
keys.
I think the old one we made obsolete, I think.
I think you're right
Or
too. And then there's reCAPTCHA version 3. Same thing that had this. So is that what you ended up doing?
Yes, I did the
with the keys?
V3. I did the V3, put in the keys, and that's what, yeah.
Yeah, so then I see, I don't recall what the difference between reCAPTCHA and the V3 is. I see that there is an invisible one, which might slow people down. But either way, so I don't know if I have a form then that's configured with this already. But this is the direction to go, right? You have to have, it's a Google product. You have to have their Google site key, Google secret key, and then this is going to in some way prompt them. And I think with V3, I think it's up to Google how they do it. It might be a picture. It might be just, hey, this looks fine to me, and doesn't interrupt them at all.
Is
that
V3 the pop-up, click the boxes with all the bikes and stairs and
that's the other reCAPTCHA. The
That's
V3
the
is
old
the
one.
yeah,
that's
the
the old one?
Yeah.
V3 is the one that works behind the scenes.
It's silent and says, "Oh, I know you're about already."
Yeah.
Got it.
You can have a checkbox with the V3, and as long as they check it, then Google will check it, and they will either pass or not pass the person, depending on where they're coming from.
So this is probably, I mean, the place that you went was probably the first best place to go. Um, we have we've kind of taken a little different approach on the community forum where we're using our Bazinga tool but it's enabling an AI and saying, look at this message. Does this look spammy to you? And if it is, then the user becomes unauthorized. Um, and I think we've um, added some logic to say, uh, if they're an old user, they've been around for a long time, then we don't uh, make people go through the same hoops. But if you just created an account and then start spamming, you're gonna get blocked. And obviously it's not perfect because we've seen some cases where it didn't respond correctly, and then you get things getting through.
Got it. I was the folks, the owners of the site, not the owners, but the people that use the site, the employees of the site, kind of old school, and they don't really do much in the way of taking advantage of managing pages and things like that. So they're just relying on the email that they get. And of course, with a mechanism where the bot does get through, there's hundreds of emails, thousands of emails. That's what they got hit with. So with the reCAPTCHA, it seemed I stopped them, which is great. But then I got word from their IT guy that that a few of the forms that had reCAPTCHA on them still got a few hits. So they
Mm,
removed a few pieces of junk. And so my thought was, how do I help them secure them a little bit further? And frankly, the I think the angle is to not bother them with the junk, right? So my thought was, well, if I do two-factor authentication, then the bot's gonna, typically they put in a bogus email address, and most of the forms require an email address so that they can get back to the people. So my thought is to do a two-factor mechanism and say, first thing you do, give me your email address. Okay, now go look in your mailbox and click here and continue. And so I was thinking of doing some mechanism like that, and was
Yep.
wondering if anybody else's thoughts on if they've done that. And I think that would eliminate, the bot will get the email. I mean, it won't get the email. It'll go and hit its thing, get stuck. One will go through. An email will go to some bogus address. I'll end up getting the email that says that the mail wasn't delivered, and we're done. So that way, the customer, the owner of the site, the employees of the site, never see the email that's the junk email.
So um, I think you would achieve your objective with that one. The one thing that I would be a little bit concerned about is that when when you send that email out to whoever, I mean, the email that you're going to collect any email, they're going to key it in and it's going to send out an email to that address. If you had a bot that went crazy, it could send many emails to a lot of people and could kind of if they were real emails from somewhere else, they might affect your reputation.
Good point. Right.
Um, so one small thing that you could do on that score would be to uh, make sure that you only send one email to a given address so that
Ah,
some random person doesn't get 1,000 emails and get really upset with you.
that's a
But
good
that's
point. I could see doing that. Right.
yes. And
I had
then
considered either the two-factor thing or and I've done this for another use, but to generate a link to send back, and the link had a GUID in the query string, and it matched up with
hmm,
a record that would when they first got in there to first start asking to provide the information. Um, I would send that to them and say, go look in your email, click there, and continue. And I could I could check the list of of perspectives, or the list of people that have asked so far, and if there's an email in there already, just stop it.
and then the solution that I mentioned to you, I mean, if you wanted to, if you the Bazinga Spam Guardian is an available feature. I don't have any idea what the price would be. I'm sure that we would try to make that very reasonable, but it it would be in the form then of a server request. So in your action stack, when they submit the button, you would submit it to ask Spam Guardian if does this look like spam to you, and it would come back either true or false, and then you could take a path based on that.
Ah, okay, interesting.
So it would be very simple to implement, but it's just kind of these layers where um, reCAPTCHA is going to weed out. I mean, and they're again, Google is in the business. They're really trying to. They're providing a product to weed out these. So I would expect that most of them would get caught there. But you could have those additional layers as you need.
Got it. I will attempt to implement the um, two-factor with the addition of, hey, has this email been uh, requested before? Um, and have that in the back pocket, as it were.
Yeah,
But reCAPTCHA, I'll just make sure that everybody's got reCAPTCHA. I'll just go through the site and look for all of the forms to make sure that they all have reCAPTCHA on it now. Um, but thanks. That's good.
absolutely.
Um, looking at, I've been curious. I don't really know what happens with when you implement the version 3 reCAPTCHA. Um, and I've been curious about it because if you look at the documentation, it talks about interpreting the score and then and taking action based on the score. And I mean, it certainly seems that just putting the field there works, but I'm just wondering, how does it work? What happens? Do you have any idea, Dale? Like how the scores and being like, so it's supposed to return a score between 0 and 1, 1 meaning that it's very likely a good interaction based on the documentation. And I'm wondering what in the background is happening. How are we interpreting the score?
Good question. I suspect that we're just passing on the score. Well, no, that's a good. Uh,
Yeah, I have no idea how to test for that.
okay, this.
Right, and that's the other question I had is what does anybody have any ideas on the best way to actually test this? Like how can you emulate a bad interaction?
Mhm. Yeah, I'm gonna take it on to. I'll see if I can find the V3 code because obviously we're passing on a score, and if you, Don, if you implemented reCAPTCHA version 3 and it blocked people, then we must have some value that automatically stops people. So then, what happens with if it's questionable? Right.
Right, right.
So let me find my notes here, and I'll put it here somewhere. Um, I'm just going to put it down to document that. I've got other things that I've added to the documentation this week. I'm trying to make regular progress on that. So I'll try to improve the documentation on all this on how to.
Well, I can say that the client has not received any complaints from some, old lady that lives in a little rural location in southern Illinois, uh, that that they got this pop-up that said they're a bot. So I don't know. The bot stopped. Like I said, it could have gotten tired or moved on,
Yeah,
but everything stopped. So there must be something happening there.
yeah, probably some default level that but we'll find out. It's probably, if it's higher than 90, dot 90 or something like that, that it just assumes it's spam. But we'll see.
Very good. Looking forward to it. Thanks.
All right, what else? Any other first call things? I know we have lots of good things to hit here.
Dale, I'll jump in. Jerry here. If
Please.
I don't want to burn up a lot of our time. If anybody has urgent or system criticals, jump ahead of me. I'm just here mostly just to converse and talk this morning. Um, Dennis and I hit something today that was so alarming. I have to bring it up here. I would call it the best ghost story ever.
Okay,
And
good.
it's not even really planting app per se. But did you know, or have any of you experienced that if you post a link into a phone's text messaging app, it executes that link in attempt to get a preview to put onto your device to make it all look cool? That's question number one. We have on our mobile app, we are creating a text to an end user with a link in it. And when they click that link, it does data processing, as you could imagine.
Hmm.
It's an on init event in an action form on a page that really doesn't have a whole lot to say. It just executes some server side code. And we've been chasing this thing for a while. And so apparently when our mobile app inserts that link, or if you were to go to your app right now and I were to give you this link, just you typing it in and sending it to me will execute the link. It does not wait for me to click the link upon arrival to
That's a good
execute
ghost
that link.
story.
Oh my goodness, it gets horrifying. Okay. This is where the murder and the slaughters come in. If
Mm.
that said data processing was mission critical and did some highly intensive operations, you would be in trouble. In Dennis and I's case, not so bad, but very aggravating. But this particular link goes to an action form with a query string on it with an ID code in the a transaction ID passed over on the query string, and the user is supposed to get that text message and click on it, and it'll process this data and then route them out to some nicer pages and et cetera, and show it to them on their phone. Just the creation on an iPhone of the text with that link in it, it executes that hyperlink that's embedded in the body of the text message before it even shows it to
Yeah.
you, before you've even clicked the send button. And then on an Android, it at least is courteous enough to wait for the send button to be clicked, but that link is not supposed to be executed until the user clicks it. And I'm not really asking for any solutions,
Yeah.
but if you haven't ever seen that, and you're designing any type of a mechanism where you're putting a link in somebody's phone text message, one of those text messages that will generate a preview, it's going to execute that link before,
Yep.
and that's how it gets its preview. Anybody got anything to say about that?
Well, so I was completely unaware of it. It makes sense in that I mean, so thinking about a scenario, it's like you're sending out a text message that says, you know, your is it okay if we charge your credit card for this month's subscription? Click here. And so, you send all those out, and then all of a sudden everybody gets charged. I mean, yeah, I mean, it sounds very dangerous.
Yeah, and in our particular case, we're asking you to click a link that will route you to a particular page, but as it routes to that particular page, it logs some information that you have
Yep.
actually viewed this page and you've done this. So again, ours is, thank goodness, is not a credit card processing software.
Yeah.
But the next time you create a text message to somebody and you put a YouTube link in it and you see kind of the headshot or
Yeah.
thumbnail of that YouTube video, even before you have clicked the send button to your friend, you have executed that link to some
So
degree.
it would be interesting to set up some logging on the form to capture some stuff because I wonder if you could tell the difference, right? If you looked at all um, the tokens that we provide um, that are part of action form, um, we're talking about. Let's take a look here in the documentation.
So while you're digging that out, Dale, one of our mobile app engineers, who's a brilliant engineer in the mobile app world, kept making suggestions that we look at the header of the
Uh-huh.
page coming in. And with a quick question over to ChatGPT, I came up with there's no real good solution, but here's what you can do. And based on the Messenger app, it will send over something in the header implying that it's about to do this, and you can trap it that way coming
Mm-hmm.
in. Um, and so that might be what you're headed for, is to see what can we see about this page as it loads.
Yeah, exactly. So, I see there's referrals and refers and IP addresses and the time zone offset. It'd be interesting to see if there's something in this list of things or the headers, which aren't part of these things that we provide.
Yeah.
To just try to say, okay, this is clearly A versus B, but I'm not sure that. I mean, it's hard to be definitive when you've got different devices and different operating systems and different versions of it. You might be chasing your tail to try to actually prevent that. So probably best to design around it.
Well,
We
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention that we talked in a previous episode about trying to get approved through, a mobile sender, and the one that I happen to use restricts sending links until you hit a level of approval, and I don't know that it. So
Yes.
the amount of trouble that people cause by sending links might make them wary of accepting links versus, you sound like you have a provider that doesn't have a problem with that.
Sure. In my readings, I did see some chat about disabling the link and just sending it as a text, uh, and then forcing the user to somehow copy and paste that link and make it happen. Um, I have not implemented this yet, guys, but after much thought, again, this link that's auto executing per the message app on your phone is kind of a runaway page. You hit the page, the action form loads, it instantly does some data processing and then does a redirect off to where it really wants to land. And
Yep.
and that would work just fine. In emails, it works great. Every other application, it works great, but these daggone cell phones are creating static for me on this issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a button on my action form runaway page.
Yep.
And I'm going to ask the user, I'm going to try and be clever enough to know that it's a text link, not an email link. I have that ability because we designed the code to do that. So if I were to pass in on a query string something like text equals yes, then I could have a separate click that the user,
Mhm.
unfortunately, when they click on the link, um, it's going to land them on a page and say something like, click here to proceed. I don't know what the
Yeah, a
text will
little
be, but
human engineering.
just something to halt it right there. And then I think the auto execute would stop, generate a preview, and not carry on with my code. Does that sound logical, Dale?
Oh, absolutely. I agree. If it would be really odd for a phone to start interacting with your page, right? If you have a true
Yes.
button to click, um, for example, an action form button, it is, I mean, I suppose it's conceivable that something could crawl your site and click a pure hyperlink just to see what's down there. But I think a button would be unusual for them to click that. But yeah,
Yeah, if it's crawling around and clicking my buttons, that's a much more higher level of a horror story than we want to get into today.
yeah,
But my horror story ends with no murders, but some people got hurt in the process, and we're trying to figure it out this morning. And just to humor our fellow programmers, Dennis and I were discussing this yesterday, and as I was going through the diagnosis of all the code, I don't have access to the code that's on the mobile app. So that's a different set of engineers altogether, and I'm not allowed to look inside the source code, but I was looking for where maybe they're accidentally calling an API of mine and maybe it's doing something like that. Well, anyway, with much due diligence, I had said to Dennis, let's ask the mobile app programmers what's happening right here. And I think all of us are going to have an oh shit moment when we find out why. And so this morning it comes back that, yeah, we had this moment with our engineer saying, uh, it's just the way cell phones work. they're
Mm-hmm.
executing that link and it kind of led us to this. So anyway, let's don't burn up a lot of daylight on that. But if you haven't seen that, be very aware if you're designing any type of a mechanism that would auto post a hyperlink into a modern day cell phone text messaging app.
Good warning. Thanks for bringing it up. All right. Anybody else? Like I say, I got lots of stuff to get to, but I don't want to hold you back. It's really stuff that some of you guys are already talking about anyway, so I'm going to move on. Since Mark is not here, I'm going to skip this one for now. We might come back to it. Um, Jerry, you guys had a topic about loose and normal and compact, and wondering if you ended up getting there.
Well, yes and no. I would absolutely emphatically be tickled to death if somebody could guide me into where I could just override the parameters on those three options and set them to my own, and then it just be global on my particular website. That would be the best opportunity. I have managed to make my form look beautiful with going into exactly what you're seeing on the screen by either creating a class in the custom CSS table that's just basically setting my bottom margin, or just taking the margin dash bottom CSS and placing it directly into each field's UI interface and under the label and control mark. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to move on. But wouldn't it be nice for me if we knew internally where Plant an App is keeping those values for when you do select compact versus normal versus loose and be able to override those? Because there's more than meets the ideal. It's not just that simple. There's different permutations, and let me say this first. I realize I'm preaching to the choir here, but there's different permutations how you may have your form in your settings set up to be showing the labels on the inside or the outside or on the top or on the left or on the right, and that plays a little bit of a role in how it's going to do loose, compact, or normal. But if it was as simple as some CSS that would just let me have my own values, I would like to be able to select compact and it just be much more aggressive than what we're getting from stock PAA.
So this is the setting. Um, were you able to determine like if there's a class? And Patrick, have you ever happened to encounter this one either? Um,
I I did a lot of inspections on my
mhm.
page, and I found that uh, I did find the word compact in the code, and so I did reference a class called compact. So you might be able to find it that way if you in your code, if you did a search for compact, you might find where it actually on the input. There you go. That's about as far as I got with it. And then, as you could imagine, if you were to change that word from compact to normal or to loose, you would get a reaction in your form. And it's minimal, by the way. The distance
Yes.
from loose to compact is not a lot.
Yep, I see it. So then we go to if we start digging into uh, so there's I see form compact. We where it's doing margin bottom is the
Yes. And
so
and that's as far as I've got. So um,
so it looks like if you were to create a class that got assigned to your that overrode dot compact. That's Sensical. Yeah, we are seeing a little bit of. So I think you could do it with .compact, but or .loose, and build something that would be overriding, but that you wouldn't have to do something at every level, but at every, for every control, because yeah, I'm sure you can accomplish it with the UI settings here, either by providing a class or by providing style. But I think you could probably get there if you knew what you're doing with CSS, with .compact and .loose. But I've never had to try it. Anybody else?
I haven't. I've just used those as they exist.
Yeah.
I
So
will
Jerry,
certainly pursue that. Go ahead.
yeah, I can't remember if you said this or not earlier, but did you actually try putting those classes in your site CSS?
Not the compact class.
Okay.
That gives me new hope to try that and just see what
Okay.
happens.
Yeah. Okay.
If it was that simple, that would be amazing. And the one thing that I have learned, Patrick, that I wish I could see the compact class that PAA has set up, because I believe it's going to be a little bit more complex in the fact that if your labels are on the outside of the text box or on the inside of the text box, it has to handle things differently, and different controls do things differently. A drop down box is not treated the same as a text box in some cases, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's why I was just kind of hoping like it would be kind of cool if we knew exactly where our engineers put that information and could either again override it in one simple place to where when you just change your form from compact to loose, it would still be smart enough to handle the other permutations of how you have your field set up. And but again, it's certainly an amenity, not a necessity, but that would be awesome. But I'll certainly start with the compact class and see what happens.
Yeah, it looks like GPT would give you some help, although I'm sure it's going to take some back and forth. In terms of finding, I mean, we've already see that compact is taking place. Form root. I'm sorry, I want to get rid of my mess here. Where's compact? No, did I turn it off? Is compact. Okay, here we go. So compact. I found it here a minute ago. Okay, so it was coming from Bootstrap 5 styles, so it must be something built into it looks like it's Bootstrap 5, but this would be the place where it's getting defined and that you could override it. You could see what was in there and override it.
At the form root.
Well, styles min CSS. So yes, here's where we're seeing. So here's loose and here's compact and here's normal.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
But it's coming from this file. So this would give you I would assume that if you wanted totally different behavior, you could copy these out and put them into a CSS and then let's see if there's anything else.
Do you think if I copied those three items there into the custom CSS and then modified the values, it would somehow magically override it?
I do.
That would be sweet.
And then, you might need to put an important on it. I don't think so. But yeah, should be, let's see if we can do it.
Oh, page CSS.
Let's try to make loose be even looser.
Yeah,
And then we have to pick it. So I'm going to go back to inspect. It's still getting the 20. So it's not pulling it from, I don't know. Oh, yeah, this is my page CSS here. So looks like it does need an important. So,
well, look at that.
yep. So page CSS or portal CSS, you should be able to do it. I'll just go that far. Oh, and I have mine as compact.
Okay,
So
change that to loose. Okay.
good one.
Look at that.
All right, so
That's awesome. I'd copy those three things in there. That's awesome.
all right, good one. Documentation updates. Wanted to show you some of this. Justifying my existence here a little bit. Got some things written in. So in our getting started guide, I've added a licensing that does some explanation of our licensing. It's a first draft, so we could be making some changes to it, but also explaining developer seats and a little bit. And I know that some of you are already in the spot where you're going to be using developer seats, so understanding them and what's going on with them. Just a fun fact, some of our screens internally to the product when you're trying to assign a developer seat was pointing to this documentation page, but the documentation page didn't exist. So I love it when you click on a link in the product and it shows, hey, this is bad XML. Well, okay. So now at least we have the page published. That's there. In our release notes for 127, I've added some known issues, things that would be helpful for you to know about. We discovered that the date time convert, so being able to convert something to central time zone, for example, that this was case sensitive. This was a regression that wasn't previously case sensitive. So we just we wanted to alert people who have not yet upgraded to 1.27 that if you use this thing, you might have some trouble. We're going to fix it, but at the current version, it's broken. And then this is one that I really wanted to talk with you guys about. Currently, you can have a token with a space in it. So if you're trying to do a context token, create update tokens, for example, and you say you want to create a token called current space invoice, it will actually store whatever value you want in that'll be the name of the token. But that we're so I guess putting it as a question, is anybody aware that it would accept that, and does anybody use and rely on that structure?
I wasn't aware.
Because the plan, and just to kind of illustrate clearly, if we do a new workflow, uh, read slash update token. This is what I'm talking about. This would actually create a token in the local context called current space invoice, and you could refer to it in later steps by using, well, you can see it there, invoice. And we are working to, so what does it say here? Starting in version 128, we're going to make tokens conform to pre-existing rules. I'll show you that. But they'll have to start with a letter and only contain alphanumericals or the underscore. That's the same naming rules as custom tokens. So just making sure that nobody's going to scream when we do that. You know, if you're here in you're adding a token, it will let you do A but not A B. It'll give you these rules, and so we're going to use these same rules there. Anyone aware that that's going to cause any problems?
We are good, Dennis.
So let it be done. All right. And then a question came up, and I don't know if you've seen it. Let's see, actually, if I have one. Okay, so we have this circumstance where we have this warning now showing up in 127 saying if you have a namespace in tokens that are portal specific, so like items was designed only to work with a given portal ID. It's an older behavior that we're eliminating so that we can get to the tokens namespace is the same as all the other namespaces that we have for example, workflows and APIs and things like that. So we're getting rid of portal specific. And I mean, it's as simple as if you edit the namespace and click available on all portals, it just converts it to a global namespace, which is our new default, the only way that you can create token namespaces. And once you do that, the warning message goes away and it's usable on all portals. So there's this whole topic now that it kind of explains why we're doing it and exactly how to do it, and has some illustrations of exactly the steps that I just did, the warning message and how to edit it and how to flip it and how to get rid of that warning message. I don't think this is going to impact anybody either, but okay.
Good morning, Dale. There was a bug I reported with that, turning that on. Do you know if that got resolved?
I believe it did. I think there was an intermediate version. If I recall your comment correctly, there was an intermediate version where you came in and did this, and either the switch wasn't visible or didn't do anything when you clicked it, and
Right, it didn't save it.
and now it does. Yeah. So that was the most recent version has that fixed. So yep. Thanks for bringing that one up. Okay. So we're going to start enforcing the token name rules, and hopefully we'll put more things in known issues so that people will know before you go on some of these version upgrades. Nothing new in Campfire contributions. It was a great ghost story that Mark had, and it's as good to show as to tell. So we have this listing that has both a data table view and a card view, and Mark wanted to put the buttons on the left align instead of the right align. And so he spent time trying to find that setting, and it turns out that in views, in the card view where you would expect to find it, it's nowhere to be seen. But if you change it on the data table view to a left alignment, it left aligns. So it looks like it's there and it's in the wrong place, or it has an impact, I'm sure, on, see here, it's aligning these differently as well. So it's the same setting that's shared between the views, and we don't have a great way of expressing it on we're collecting it on the data table settings, not the.
Does it work also if you don't include the data table?
Well, that's exactly the thing that I was about to test, so glad that you asked. Yep, it still has the impact. So you just have to set it on data table, and of course you got to turn on data table to mess with it. And then this one I find also impacts. So if we save that, even though it's on data table, the buttons will stack and argue. So those two attributes have to be done on the data table settings. We'll bring that to the product team and see if and how they want to solve that. Since
By chance, do you know if that would also extend to the new hierarchy view? Because I'm having that same issue on the hierarchy.
And why don't I have hierarchy view here? That's a nice mystery. I don't know. But let's see.
I'll go try it and let you know.
Well, we have a Campfire contribution that has that, so maybe we can find it real quick. Let's go take a look. Because I'm pretty sure this already has some buttons that are, they're left aligned. So if we were to that's it. It doesn't seem to impact it, so that's yet something else. And I believe we've just encountered yet another small bug. Let's look at it that I've reported. Let's see if I can. Yeah. So just to be aware, switching between hierarchy view and data table view, if you go to hierarchy view and then you go to data table view, you get nothing. If you switch back and forth between card view and data table view, you get data. It's some switching away from hierarchy view doesn't correctly render the content, and you have to switch back and forth into one of these other views before you get the content. So yeah, we're seeing it left align here. There's not enough stuff going on here, but this is left aligning, and then it looks like it's ignoring that entirely on the hierarchy view. So great question.
And what I'm experiencing in using the hierarchy view with that button, like that edit button, when you go to a small screen, you can't see the buttons. They're off the screen. It's
Interesting. I'm seeing them.
You're seeing it there. When I'm going down on mine on a true phone, it's not rendering right on both an Apple and an Android.
Okay, so depending on the number of levels, I'm stuck here.
Yes, because and I've noticed this, the text doesn't wrap. If the label text wrapped, I think we probably would be okay.
Yeah. So button position left. What happens here? Yeah, that looks like that's ignored too. You can, with a listing, you can put the buttons on the left. And personally, I like to do this because you're guaranteed to have your buttons visible. Stylistically, Plant an app that chooses to put everything on the right, and Bogdan likes it that way, so we don't use that. But for my personal preference, I like putting them on the left so that they never.
I agree with you because it's always there.
Yep. So yeah, hierarchy view, which um, and I think the answer to this question is that hierarchy view as an experimental, I mean, we're using it and it has some value and you can get some things out of it, but it is until it gets a corporate sponsor to get some. I mean, it probably won't get any enhancements until somebody says, "Yeah, I'm willing to spend some money to make. I really need it to do these other things," uh, but it's not likely to come up for any other enhancements anytime soon. But those would be great things to put into it. I am going to try and.
Do you want a ticket as a reminder, or even though that or
Sure,
you will make?
if you want to do a feature enhancement on that one, absolutely.
Okay.
Just save those like that. All right, so trying to put things back the way I found them here. Pretty close. All right. So that was a good thing that Mark found, and knowing where to go find them. It wasn't really. I mean, it would have been a good guess to go look for them there, but if we save anybody a few minutes, then we're glad to do it. All right, that gets us to our hour. If you want, hang around for Afterglow. I do
Can I
enjoy talking with each
can I
of you.
just mention one thing? Sorry, I don't mean to have to have my hand up, but I guess I didn't see it. I just want to mention it before the recording ends.
Yeah.
Regarding what was just talked about, how the buttons don't show because it gets pushed off to the side.
Yes.
Um, I think I had mentioned this a long time ago, with regards to grids, but just from my perspective, like a best practice that I do is that if I know a page could potentially be used in a mobile device. All my grids, I design them with one column first, and that's my mobile column. It's a calculated column that shows all the data across all of the other columns in a compressed fashion. So all the data for every single column is in one cell, and that's only visible when on a mobile device. Anything other than a mobile device, it gets hidden. And then all of the other columns get shown in everything other than a mobile device. So that way you're guaranteed that when your user is looking at your grid on a mobile device, they are literally only seeing one column of data the way you designed it, compressing it so that it fits correctly. And then if you put a button to the right of it, the button will always show because the
You've
data, the
designed it
text
that
is going to
way.
be wrapped around and it's not going to scroll off, endlessly.
So just making sure we capture that for anybody following along. Your mobile column, whatever you title it, but it's got this mobile checkbox turned on. Then
Mhm.
oh, so this is the way you show that column, turning the mobile checkbox
Correct.
on, and then
Yes.
your template has whatever it is that you want to display to a mobile user, and then all your other
Right.
fields.
Usually what I would do is I would also check off the allow HTML because that's how you're going to make sure that like your wrapping is,
Hmm.
working correctly and stuff and giving yourself the break lines. And if you want to manually put in like a label before the data, you can bold it, things like that. But
Hmm.
obviously, you format the data as you want it to show on a mobile device in one column.
And then all your other fields, you turn off the mobile column
Correct.
so that they'll see one or the other, but not both.
Right. So like if you're, on a tablet, if you're on a computer, whatever, you're going to see the grid as you would expect normally with individual columns. However, the only difference is if you're on a phone, you're not going to see multiple columns. You'll see one. Typically, what I do is all of the columns becomes like a row
Mm.
within that one row. So that way I kind of stack my data, make it look nice, what makes sense. And then if I put buttons to the right of that, those buttons will show because my data is compressed.
So I'm glad that you raised your hand and jumped in because I think that's an important technique to demonstrate to people. A good way to go about that. Cool. All right, thanks for joining us for this hour. We will go to Afterglow for a few more minutes, and we'll be back again next week. Also, there's a Low-Code Cafe next week, next Wednesday. We're going to be talking about the different ways to use date and date time fields. And I assume that you're going to want to watch me struggle with that because international date time is it's a simple and a difficult topic all at the same time. So watch me struggle. Anyway, we'll see you guys next week. Hang on for Afterglow.